Hello Midnights. Thank you for tuning in. Our next story, Shadow People, Whispers in the Dark Across Cultures and Consciousness. Let us know where you are listening from and don't forget to subscribe. From the fleeting glimpse in the corner of one's eye to the chilling sensation of being watched, stories of shadow people have permeated folklore and personal accounts for centuries. These elusive, often malevolent, figures provoke a primal fear, leaving those who encounter them with a profound sense of unease and a lingering question: what are these spectral entities, and what do they truly represent in the tapestry of human experience? The elusive appearance. What do shadow people look like? Shadow people are almost universally described as dark, humanoid silhouettes, essentially patches of shadow that seem to move and act with an unsettling intent. Their most defining characteristic is their seemingly pure darkness, often reported as being blacker than black, as if they absorb all ambient light, rather than reflecting it. This creates an optical paradox, as they appear as two-dimensional cutouts or voids within the environment, yet possess a disturbing sense of depth and presence. Unlike ordinary shadows, they maintain their form and often seem to move independently of any light source, an observation that deeply unnerves witnesses, suggesting a deliberate, non-physical autonomy. Crucially, they possess an unnerving lack of discernible features. Witnesses rarely report seeing eyes, noses, mouths, or any facial expressions, which contributes significantly to their alien and menacing aura, stripping them of any recognizable humanity or emotional context. When features are reported, they are usually minimal and terrifying. Glowing red or yellow eyes. While not universal, some of the most chilling accounts include glowing red or yellow eyes, which stand out starkly against their dark forms and heighten the perception of malevolence, suggesting an active, conscious, and often hostile intelligence behind the void. The Hat Man. A recurring and particularly unsettling archetype is the Hat Man. This figure is typically described as a tall, shadowy male figure wearing an old-fashioned fedora, wide-brimmed hat, or sometimes a trench coat. Despite the added detail of clothing, his face remains indistinct or completely featureless, making his recognizable silhouette even more eerie. The remarkable consistency of this specific appearance across disparate accounts worldwide, regardless of cultural background or geographic location, is one of the most compelling and unexplained aspects of the phenomenon, strongly suggesting a shared, archetypal manifestation that transcends individual interpretation and points to a common source or deep-seated human fear. Amorphous or distorted shapes. While usually humanoid, some accounts describe them as more amorphous blobs of shadow, swirling masses, or even distorted, elongated figures, stretching or bending in ways that defy physical reality, adding to their non-human quality and amplifying the sense of unreality. These less defined forms can be even more disturbing due to their complete departure from known biological structures. Lack of physicality. They rarely appear solid or three-dimensional like a living person. Instead, they often seem two-dimensional, like a ripple or a void in space, and are consistently reported as being intangible, unable to be touched or physically interacted with, further contributing to their elusive, ghost-like nature. They do not seem to cast their own shadows, adding another layer to their paradoxical visual presentation, implying they are not merely an absence of light but a presence of darkness. Their movement is equally unsettling and contributes to their otherworldly nature. It's frequently described as rapid, darting, or gliding, often without any discernible steps or sound, creating an unnatural sense of motion that is both swift and silent, and defying the laws of inertia. They can appear to move through solid objects like walls or closed doors with inexplicable ease, demonstrating a profound defiance of physical laws that reinforces their non-corporeal nature. They often appear and disappear in an instant, sometimes melting into the surrounding darkness, shimmering out of existence, or simply being not there the moment direct attention is paid to them. This sudden, fleeting nature is a hallmark of shadow person sightings, leaving witnesses disoriented, psychologically drained, and profoundly questioning what they've truly seen, often leading to self-doubt and isolation. One of the most intriguing patterns in shadow person accounts is the common circumstances surrounding their appearance, which often blur the lines between a truly paranormal encounter and a profound psychological or physiological experience. The environment and the state of the witness seem to play crucial roles. Peripheral vision. This is perhaps the most common mode of sighting. Shadow people are frequently seen out of the corner of the eye, flickering into view for a split second before vanishing the moment direct focus is applied. This elusive, blink-and-you-miss-it appearance makes them incredibly difficult to confirm and can lead witnesses to question their own sanity, compounding the psychological distress and isolation of the experience. It's often likened to a visual glitch in reality, a momentary tear in the fabric of ordinary perception. Nighttime and dimly lit environments. The vast majority of encounters occur at night or in areas with very low lighting, such as hallways, bedrooms, or the dark corners of a room. This environment naturally lends itself to the perception of ambiguous shadows and shapes, where the human brain, seeking patterns, might fill in the blanks. However, for experiencers, the perceived agency, distinctness, and chilling presence of the shadow make it far more than just a trick of light. It feels like a deliberate, intelligent manifestation specifically chosen to instill fear and exploit the inherent vulnerability of darkness. The sleep-wake transition, sleep paralysis. A significant number of shadow person encounters are strongly linked to episodes of sleep paralysis. This is a temporary, yet terrifying, state of being unable to move or speak that occurs just as a person is falling asleep, hypnagogic, or waking up, hypnopopic, during which the brain is partially awake but the body's natural sleep-induced paralysis lingers. During sleep paralysis, individuals are fully conscious but their body remains paralyzed, and they often experience vivid, realistic, and often frightening hallucinations. The most common hallucination reported is the sensation of a malevolent presence in the room, often interpreted as a shadowy figure, sometimes sitting on the witness's chest, a classic old hag archetype, found in many cultures, or standing ominously beside their bed. The sheer terror, vulnerability, and helplessness associated with sleep paralysis amplify these hallucinations, making the shadow person appear intensely real and psychologically impactful. The Hat Man is particularly and strongly associated with sleep paralysis episodes across countless accounts, suggesting a direct and profound link between this specific neurological phenomenon and the manifestation of this particular shadow figure. This connection raises deep questions about the nature of consciousness and reality during altered states of brain activity. Sleep deprivation and extreme exhaustion, prolonged lack of restorative sleep, extreme physical exhaustion, or profound mental fatigue can significantly affect perception and lead to various forms of visual and auditory hallucinations, including the perception of shadowy figures. Research indicates that a high percentage of severely sleep-deprived individuals report some form of hallucinatory phenomena, making this a significant contributing factor for some sightings, suggesting a strong connection between altered states of consciousness and these unsettling perceptions. The brain, deprived of its essential rest and functioning suboptimally, may struggle to accurately interpret sensory input, leading to misperceptions or even the generation of complex visual imagery. Times of intense stress, anxiety, or trauma, individuals undergoing periods of significant psychological stress, acute anxiety, emotional upheaval, or recovering from trauma often report encounters with shadow people. Heightened emotional states can contribute to perceptual sensitivities, making individuals more prone to misinterpret environmental cues as threatening figures, amplifying their fear response and potentially creating a feedback loop where fear begets more sightings. These experiences might be the psyche externalizing internal turmoil or vulnerability. Moments of solitude. Many accounts describe encounters when the witness is alone, reinforcing the feeling of isolation and vulnerability. This solitude might heighten awareness of subtle stimuli or amplify feelings of being watched, as the mind has less external distraction and can become more introspective or susceptible. Around negative events or locations, some anecdotal evidence suggests shadow people appear more frequently around locations or individuals associated with strong negative energy, conflict, distress, or places with a history of tragedy or violence. This raises compelling questions about whether they are drawn to or feed upon such energies, or if such environments simply create a more receptive psychological or energetic state for sightings, implying a correlation between environmental resonance and anomalous phenomena. Drug or substance use/withdrawal. Certain substances, particularly those with deliriant properties or recreational drugs like stimulants, can induce vivid and terrifying hallucinations of shadowy figures. Similarly, withdrawal from certain substances can also trigger such perceptions, directly impacting brain chemistry and demonstrating how altered brain states can manifest such entities. This provides a clear physiological lens through which some sightings can be understood, pointing to the brain's complex and sometimes deceptive role in generating perceived realities. Neurological conditions. While less commonly discussed in popular culture, certain neurological conditions such as Parkinson's disease, a form of dementia, migraines with aura, and even some types of epilepsy can cause visual hallucinations, including those of shadowy or indistinct figures. These are typically understood as direct disruptions in normal brain function, further broadening the scope of potential explanations beyond the purely paranormal. An encounter with a shadow person can be deeply unsettling, often leaving individuals feeling vulnerable, frightened, and questioning their sanity. While approaches vary depending on one's belief system about their nature, here's a comprehensive guide on how to respond. 1. Prioritize your immediate well-being, physical and mental. Do not engage with fear. Shadow people are often reported to thrive on fear. The most crucial immediate response is to try and control your fear reaction. While easier said than done, actively telling yourself "I am not afraid" or focusing on calm breathing can help. Panic can intensify the experience. Try to move or change position. If you are experiencing sleep paralysis, the primary goal is to break out of it. Focus intensely on wiggling a single finger or toe. Once you achieve even minor movement, the paralysis often breaks, and the hallucination typically dissipates. Turn on lights. Illumination often causes shadow people to vanish. If you are able to move, immediately turning on a light source, lamp, phone flashlight, is a common and often effective way to dispel the visual phenomenon. Seek company. If possible, move to a room where other people are present. Their presence can often diminish or entirely eliminate the perceived entity. Maintain a rational mindset. If possible, remind yourself of the various psychological and physiological explanations for such sightings: sleep paralysis, fatigue, pareidolia. Acknowledging these possibilities can help reduce panic and maintain a sense of control, even if you ultimately believe the experience is paranormal. 2. Psychological and physiological strategies. Self-care. Improve sleep hygiene. Given the strong link to sleep paralysis and deprivation, optimizing your sleep environment and habits is paramount. Establish a regular sleep schedule. Ensure your bedroom is dark, quiet, and cool, and avoid screens before bed. Reduce caffeine and alcohol, especially in the evening. Manage stress and anxiety. If you are experiencing heightened stress, anxiety, or trauma, addressing these underlying issues can potentially reduce the frequency or intensity of encounters. Consider mindfulness, meditation, therapy, or counseling to process emotional burdens. Avoid substances. If you suspect drug use or withdrawal is contributing to your experiences, seeking professional advice for safe management strategies is important. Consult a medical professional. If sightings are frequent, persistent, or accompanied by other concerning symptoms, or if you are unsure if they are linked to sleep issues or stress, consulting a doctor or neurologist is advisable. They can rule out underlying medical conditions that might cause hallucinations. 3. Paranormal and spiritual approaches, based on belief. Command the entity to leave. Many experiencers, particularly those who believe the entity is malevolent or demonic, report success by verbally and forcefully commanding the shadow person to leave, often in the name of a higher power or with strong intent. For example, "Get out. You are not welcome here." This asserts personal authority and spiritual boundaries. Protective prayer or affirmations. For those with spiritual beliefs, engaging in prayer, reciting protective verses, or affirming positive energy can be a source of comfort and perceived protection. Visualizing a protective light or shield around yourself or your home is also a common technique. Cleansing your space. If you believe the entity is tied to your environment, spiritual cleansing practices, for example, smudging with certain herbs, using blessed water, burning specific resins, can be employed to dispel negative energy. This is often accompanied by setting clear intentions for protection and peace within the space. Boundary setting. Clearly and firmly communicating, either verbally or mentally, that the entity is not welcome in your space or life can be effective. This involves asserting your energetic boundaries and denying them access to your personal energy. Seek spiritual guidance. If encounters persist and are deeply disturbing, some individuals seek guidance from spiritual leaders, paranormal investigators, or energy workers who specialize in dealing with perceived negative entities. They may offer rituals, blessings, or personalized advice. Ultimately, how one deals with a shadow person appearance is highly personal. The most effective strategies often combine practical self-care with responses aligned to one's own worldview, prioritizing safety and a sense of calm. The goal is always to minimize fear and disruption to one's life. The question of their origin is perhaps the most debated and least understood aspect of the shadow person phenomenon, inviting a myriad of theories that often find parallels in ancient myths and belief systems, reflecting humanity's long-standing attempts to explain the unexplainable, the unseen, and the terrifying. One prevalent theory posits that shadow people are interdimensional beings, occasionally bleeding through into our own reality. This would logically explain their sudden, inexplicable appearances and disappearances, as well as their seemingly intangible nature, suggesting they are not bound by our familiar physical laws of space and time. They might be mere observers, passing through, or perhaps even inadvertently trapped or lost within our dimension, experiencing a reality that overlaps with ours. This concept finds intriguing resonance with various global mythologies, such as unseen entities made of smokeless fire who exist parallel to our world and can shapeshift, sometimes interacting with humans. Some researchers suggest that certain types of these entities might manifest as what we perceive as shadow people, pointing to a direct cultural bridge for the phenomenon where ancient entities take on modern forms. Another perspective suggests they are a form of residual energy or spirits, distinct from traditional ghosts. These could be psychic imprints left behind by intense emotional events, or perhaps disembodied consciousnesses that are not fully formed, or tragically trapped between realms, lacking the coherent memory, or recognizable identity of a deceased human. Unlike traditional ghosts, they seem to carry a more generalized, pervasive, unsettling presence rather than the specific emotional baggage or personality of an individual. Ancient lore also speaks of the shade of a person, an incorporeal echo that went to the underworld, an abstract and shadowy form of existence after death, lacking the vibrancy of life. More esoterically, some theorists propose that shadow people are creations of the human mind itself, either through conscious astral projection by skilled practitioners or as involuntary thought forms, tulpas or egregores, inadvertently conjured by strong collective emotions like fear, anger, or deeply held beliefs. This concept suggests a profound, albeit unconscious, human capacity to manifest external realities from internal states, where pervasive fear, for example, could coalesce into an observable entity. For those with a more religious or spiritual inclination, particularly within various spiritual traditions, shadow people are sometimes interpreted as minor malevolent entities or spirits, intent on causing fear, distress, or even spiritual oppression and manipulation. Their often oppressive and fear-inducing presence, coupled with rare reports of glowing red eyes, lends credence to this interpretation for some believers, suggesting a battle between spiritual forces for human consciousness or well-being. Finally, from a deeply psychological perspective, the shadow archetype, a concept explored in depth by analytical psychology, is an unconscious aspect of the personality, representing repressed desires, fears, and unacceptable parts of the self that are deliberately hidden from conscious awareness. While not a literal entity, the concept of confronting one's own shadow in dreams or waking visions can manifest as shadowy figures, symbolizing inner turmoil and the pressing need for psychological integration and self-acceptance. These internal conflicts, when externalized through the psyche, might take on the terrifying forms of shadow people, reflecting our deepest anxieties and unaddressed psychological burdens back at us. This perspective suggests that the phenomenon may be a powerful internal symbol made manifest. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of shadow people is their apparent lack of discernible motive or direct interaction. Unlike traditional ghosts who might haunt a specific location due to unresolved issues, attempt to communicate, or seek specific outcomes, like moving on, shadow people rarely interact directly or verbally. Their mission, if they possess one, seems to be primarily observation and the installation of fear. Many accounts describe shadow people simply standing and watching, their presence chilling but not overtly aggressive, leading to the theory that they are merely dispassionate observers, perhaps studying humanity or simply existing in a parallel space that occasionally overlaps with ours, unnoticed by most. A darker, more unsettling interpretation suggests that shadow people actively feed on negative energy, particularly fear and dread. Their very presence creates an atmosphere of profound dread and oppression, which they may then absorb, much like an energetic parasite or vampire. This idea explains why witnesses often report feeling emotionally or energetically drained or utterly terrified in their presence, experiencing a direct impact beyond mere visual perception. In certain ancient folklore, sudden appearances of shadowy figures can be seen as harbingers or portents of misfortune or significant life changes, serving as dark omens, though this is less common in contemporary accounts. While many report a strong sense of dread and malevolence emanating from these entities, not all accounts describe them as intrinsically evil. Some believers and paranormal authors speculate that shadow people could be neutral or even, in exceptionally rare cases, helpful entities, though the overwhelming majority of reported experiences lean towards the terrifying and oppressive. Their consistent fleeting nature also suggests they do not haunt a specific place over time in the persistent way a traditional ghost might, appearing more as transient visitors or fleeting manifestations of a larger, unseen reality that occasionally brushes against our own. The distinctions between shadow people and ghosts are a fascinating point of discussion within paranormal circles, largely because both terms describe non-physical entities, yet their reported characteristics and behaviors differ significantly. While there can be some overlap in interpretation, understanding these differences is key to grasping the unique nature of shadow people and why they occupy a distinct, often more frightening, Niche in paranormal lore. The defining characteristic of shadow people is the absence of light. They are pure darkness, described as blacker than black, absorbing all light around them. They are literally made of shadow, often appearing as vague, humanoid outlines without discernible facial features. The recurring hat man is a notable exception, maintaining the shadowy form but with a specific hat. While rare, some accounts describe glowing red or yellow eyes, amplifying their ominous presence. They are very frequently seen out of the corner of the eye, flickering or darting away when direct focus is applied, and their movement is often swift, gliding, or appearing to move through solid objects, an unsettling defiance of known physics and a clear indication of their non-physicality. Ghosts, on the other hand, have a much wider range of visual appearances and often a more discernible connection to the human form. They can manifest as full-bodied apparitions, translucent or semi-transparent figures resembling living people, sometimes with recognizable clothing from their era and even facial expressions, misty or ectoplasmic forms, white, gray, or vaporous shapes that can shift and swirl, or even orbs of light, which are often thought to be concentrated spiritual energy or a form of conscious manifestation. Traditional ghosts, particularly intelligent hauntings, may retain distinct facial features, hair, and clothing, often appearing as they did in life, allowing for recognition by those who knew them. While fleeting glimpses and flashes can occur, ghosts are also seen directly, sometimes for extended periods, allowing for more detailed observation and even direct interaction. Regarding identity and origin, the prevailing theories suggest shadow people are not deceased humans. Instead, they are proposed to be interdimensional beings, astral entities, thought forms, lower-level malevolent entities, or even spirit types described in various ancient texts. They lack a personal history and are not associated with specific deceased individuals or particular locations based on a former life. There's a pervasive feeling that shadow people are fundamentally other, a distinct category of entity entirely separate from human spirits. The core belief behind ghosts is that they are the souls, spirits, or consciousness of deceased individuals, or sometimes animals, who have lingered after death. Ghosts are often identified with a specific person who once lived, and details of their life and death may be known, making them a continuation of a past identity that provides a narrative context to their presence, whether tragic or benign. They are frequently associated with places where they lived, died, or had strong emotional connections, often perceived as trying to resolve unfinished business, seek justice, or simply stuck in a familiar environment due to unresolved earthly ties. In terms of intent and interaction, shadow people's most commonly reported activity is simply observing or watching. This observation is almost universally accompanied by a profound sense of dread, fear, or oppression in the witness, sometimes even a feeling of being energetically drained. They rarely attempt to communicate verbally or physically. Any interaction is usually limited to a feeling of being watched, sometimes a sense of oppressive pressure, or simply inducing intense, often paralyzing fear. They don't typically try to send messages, ask for help, or reveal information, acting as silent, unsettling presences. They are often perceived as malevolent or, at best, unsettling and indifferent. They also don't seem to haunt a specific place over time in the persistent way a traditional ghost might, appearing more as transient visitors or fleeting manifestations of a larger, unseen reality. Ghosts have a wide range of intents and interactions. Residual hauntings are non-interactive playbacks of past events or emotions, like a psychic echo imprinted on a location. Intelligent hauntings involve conscious entities capable of direct interaction and communication, through whispers, disembodied voices, knocking, moving objects, or even direct apparitions, sometimes responding to questions or environmental changes, indicating a conscious awareness. They might seek help, deliver a message, seek closure, or simply be present to acknowledge their existence. Poltergeists, though sometimes a distinct phenomenon, are often attributed to spirits or intense psychic energy and manifest as physical disturbances, objects moving, lights flickering, sounds, or even physical attacks. Ghosts often actively interact with their environment and living people, and crucially, they can be perceived as friendly, neutral, or malevolent, depending on the individual spirit and the nature of the haunting, often with complex emotional narratives and discernible personalities. The myth of shadow people is deeply intertwined with human psychology and our inherent, primal fear of the unknown and the dark. This fear is not new. Shadowy entities have populated human folklore for millennia, speaking to universal human anxieties and the ever-present mystery of what lies just beyond our perception, tapping into our deepest, most ancient fears. Ancient and cultural parallels abound, suggesting a shared human encounter with these archetypal forms across time and geography. In ancient Egyptian beliefs, One aspect of the soul was sometimes depicted as a person's shadow, believed to wander after death, an ethereal counterpart to the living, hinting at a spiritual double. In Native American traditions, some tribal stories speak of dark, human-like figures or shapeshifters that bring misfortune or steal souls, paralleling the malevolent intent some ascribe to shadow people. Tales from various Middle Eastern traditions describe unseen beings that exist in a parallel dimension, made of a subtle essence, who can interact with humans, sometimes with malevolent intent, often inhabiting desolate places or liminal spaces. Japanese folklore includes accounts of shadow-like apparitions that appear when no physical person is present, a chilling manifestation of absence and an unseen presence, echoing the peripheral nature of many shadow person sightings. Across diverse cultures, accounts describe elusive figures that blend into the shadows, representing hidden dangers in the landscape or unseen presences in the home. These widespread cultural narratives, spanning vastly different civilizations and belief systems, demonstrate a profound and cross-cultural human susceptibility to the idea of unseen, shadowy presences, reinforcing the archetype of the shadow other that exists just beyond the veil of normal perception. Physiological and psychological explanations also play a significant role in understanding reported sightings, offering compelling, though not exhaustive, alternative interpretations that ground the experience in the human body and mind. A significant number of shadow person encounters are strongly linked to episodes of sleep paralysis, a temporary, yet terrifying, state of being unable to move or speak that occurs just as a person is falling asleep, hypnagogic, or waking up, hypnopopic, during which the brain is partially awake but the body's natural sleep-induced paralysis lingers. During sleep paralysis, individuals are fully conscious but their body remains paralyzed, and they often experience vivid, realistic, and often frightening hallucinations. The most common hallucination reported is the sensation of a malevolent presence in the room, often interpreted as a shadowy figure, sometimes sitting on the witness's chest, a classic old hag archetype, found in many cultures, or standing ominously beside their bed. The sheer terror, vulnerability, and helplessness associated with sleep paralysis amplify these hallucinations, making the shadow person appear intensely real and psychologically impactful. The Hat Man is particularly and strongly associated with sleep paralysis episodes across countless accounts, suggesting a direct and profound link between this specific neurological phenomenon and the manifestation of this particular shadow figure. This connection raises deep questions about the nature of consciousness and reality during altered states of brain activity. Sleep deprivation and extreme exhaustion can also profoundly affect perception, leading to various forms of visual and auditory hallucinations, including the perception of shadowy figures. Some research indicates that a high percentage of severely sleep-deprived individuals report some form of hallucinatory phenomena, making this a significant contributing factor for some sightings, suggesting a strong connection between altered states of consciousness and these unsettling perceptions. The brain, deprived of its essential rest and functioning suboptimally, may struggle to accurately interpret sensory input, leading to misperceptions or even the generation of complex visual imagery. In dimly lit environments, our brains are prone to pareidolia, a psychological phenomenon where they interpret ambiguous visual stimuli, like a coat draped over a chair, a distorted shadow from furniture, or a trick of light/darkness, as a familiar pattern, such as a human figure. This common cognitive bias can be amplified by fear or suggestion, making a benign shadow appear sentient and malevolent. Heightened emotional states like extreme stress, acute anxiety, and trauma can contribute to perceptual sensitivities, making individuals more prone to misinterpret environmental cues as threatening figures, amplifying their fear response and potentially creating a feedback loop where fear begets more sightings. Furthermore, certain psychoactive substances, particularly those with deliriant properties or strong stimulants, can induce vivid and terrifying hallucinations of shadowy figures, directly impacting brain chemistry and demonstrating how altered brain states can manifest such entities. This provides a clear physiological lens through which some sightings can be understood, pointing to the brain's complex and sometimes deceptive role in generating perceived realities. In addition, rare neurological conditions such as Parkinson's disease, a form of dementia, migraines with aura, and even some types of epilepsy can also induce visual hallucinations, including those of shadowy or indistinct figures, which are understood as direct disruptions in normal brain function. Beyond these more rational, scientific explanations, some researchers and experiencers delve into the potential for psychic phenomena or energy manipulation, suggesting an energetic reality underlying these experiences. It's hypothesized that certain individuals may be more attuned to perceiving these entities, perhaps due to inherent psychic sensitivity, a unique neurological predisposition, or being in a heightened energetic state, for example, during meditation or altered consciousness, making them more open to phenomena beyond normal sensory perception. The presence of electromagnetic field (EMF) fluctuations has also been a subject of paranormal investigation. Some theories suggest that such fluctuations might either create conditions conducive to shadow person sightings, by affecting brain activity or perception, leading to localized hallucinations, or be a byproduct of their presence if they are indeed energetic entities that disrupt natural fields. However, robust scientific consensus on this remains elusive, and direct causal links are unproven, often relying on anecdotal evidence rather than controlled experiments. The consistent nature of the phenomenon across diverse cultures and time periods, even with varying interpretations, suggests a powerful archetypal fear or a subtle reality that defies easy categorization. The chilling aspect is not just their appearance, but the intense emotional distress they often cause, leading to profound feelings of dread, paranoia, and being drained of energy. For some, regular encounters lead to chronic anxiety and a debilitating fear of their own homes and even the dark itself, demonstrating a significant psychological impact that demands attention regardless of the origin of the phenomenon. The collective human experience of these phenomena, despite scientific efforts to categorize them, continues to point towards a rich, if unsettling, tapestry of perception and belief that stretches far beyond the mundane, challenging our understanding of what constitutes reality and the boundaries of the known world. Whether they are interdimensional travelers, lingering spirits, psychological phenomena rooted in our biology, ancient mythological beings manifesting in modern times, or a complex combination of these factors, shadow people continue to fascinate, perplex, and terrifyingly impact those who claim to encounter them. They serve as a chilling reminder of the vastness of the unknown and the inherent limits of our perception and understanding. While scientific explanations offer valuable insights into some aspects, the visceral fear they evoke speaks to something deeper within us, a primal acknowledgement that there are things in this world, or perhaps just beyond it, that remain shrouded in impenetrable mystery, lurking just at the edge of our vision, constantly hinting at realities beyond our grasp. And for many, that unsettling whisper, that fleeting glimpse in the dark, is more than enough to confirm their chilling, undeniable reality. The captivating mystery of shadow people highlights the intriguing intersection of human experience, cultural narrative, and scientific inquiry. While countless personal accounts attest to the unsettling reality of these fleeting, dark figures, offering compelling narratives of unexplained encounters, researchers continue to explore the psychological and physiological mechanisms that may contribute to such perceptions, including sleep disturbances and visual processing anomalies. Regardless of whether one leans towards a paranormal interpretation or a more scientific explanation, the phenomenon of shadow people serves as a powerful reminder of the limits of our current understanding, prompting continued curiosity about the nature of reality, the complexities of the human mind, and the enduring human capacity to perceive the unseen.